Tangge Doje Jajer Zonro, Jinja Mado Doje Bonjamba, Sergio Lumbo Dabur Jebega, Shakje Jarbe Jadung Janzor, Dorjen Janja Delo Narodam, Maba Mala Jija Gamboba. Pamo Juba Jawan Dogomba, Gajalama Namje Dajoje, Danandan Zara Damje de Lama Lapala Jizozon, Lawson Yonden Jamson Alava, and Dende Donjan Begele Zor, Dage Lo Chizon Rover Zinja Labdozor. Chia Lamdan Rover Zinja Labdozo, Lan Jova Javar Zinja Labdozo, Jova Yisan Javar, Jinja Labdozo, Gange Dinjan Javar Jong, Gaba me ba je, me ba je ba, me ba dai, me ba. Wa me ban ro me ba da de do me dun je me zhe ba ni je je den ba zu ba zan je ma nan je tam ba de la jiang zar de zhen jian za ve la ma ji je go zong do je jin lan da 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 ge ju lan be de da ge den ba dan zhen je je dong jia jin ban zhe ba zhen je la de zo. That ring around so Gampopa, then you can zap Lam children chinchua, the Shuba Gab Re, and the Tomar de la Gampopa can zap Takput Tarjin, say Yorawa, Dinana Kong Song Yobare, Gang Song Yore Shubaina. Hang around so la ju de hing bo se da sang je a ge ju de hing bo yo re so ane ti ju de yan driver la min par si ba la de ni jin ge bi si ni yo re so de ni ti driver de ya min par si ba tap de la Tene Gavishini Tamjeje Dangwa Yore son. Tene ten the Tangaran so Kisosungune Tene Jambata Ninje Lasuba Tene Tambichula Zumbaina Tene driver Sobu Sanje Kompang Toyake Tunjin Chapsang Yore son Barwa. Denda inzang ngaran so soso ngone dene soso rang ge je gawa da zhuo jieba dene ruo simji tamje la yang da dunro ri yida ri nyawa ne be simji tamje la yang de da ben tunjin den zombar sho samne kulon number da bogoni dene 장축 저도 샘지데 되는 거랑 저거다 주체니 제거해 버리스
Just a minute, I'm gonna shut my other, okay. Today, to continue with these precious teachings from Gampopa, which comprise the precious garland of the Supreme Path, to begin with today, we taking from another wonderful work by Gampopa, the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. In the Jewel Ornament of Liberation, he says that we all possess the cause for attaining Buddhahood as the Tathagata Garbha, or the Buddha nature. So the Buddha nature is already primordially present in the mind stream. And in order for this cause to ripen into the fruit, then we have to have specific conditions. And those conditions are the condition of meeting with and relying upon a qualified spiritual teacher. And then having met with such conditions, the method is through receiving the pith instructions and putting them into practice, generating the qualities of love and compassion and so on. And then due to all of these causes and conditions coming together, then the fruit of Buddhahood is attained. And so we all are in an incredibly fortunate situation in which we have all the necessary causes and conditions gathered together. And so this is a cause for really having a mind of rejoicing in one's own situation, of rejoicing in our own situation, of really feeling a sense of tremendous joy because of this great fortune. And also then likewise with a mind of compassion to make the heartfelt aspiration that all sentient beings of the 6 realms, in particular those of the 3 lower realms, those in the states of animals, hungry ghosts, and hell beings, that they may create the conditions in which they can meet with the circumstances, or that they may eventually be able to, or that they may be able to gather the same fortunate conditions by which they have all that is necessary for achieving the fruition of a fully perfected awakening or Buddhahood. And so with this aspiration in our heart, giving rise to the mind of love and compassion and bodhicitta, we should listen to the teachings.
Choban jitin sungunji tamchu gongba chikban sungba jindu chanchuk simka ranzuk tani sanjiri songre. Te indu ngaran ke sanje shi lo yimba chene zal mogowar ngaran soso ke semde namjela chanchuk semde jorsumba ina tikapso tane sanje de yobare. Te nandon kare sena ngaran sanje hibate tane zebdani jin yimba dang tene tsewa deyang tega zangke ngaran chi danzin dandrebe tsewa mayimba tene shirap dandrebe tsewa yimbe cherna tene chimpe ranzo tenda insam tene sanje shibadela chimba ta tsewa ka ranzo chade yore tendre ke chimba ta tsewa ka ranzo teke tene taye besimchin tamjela tane ta nekap dewa tang tane tarthok tane dunga thamche le yongsu droba tane minga tetab tin nubate din du yobeserna tane sanje hibate chinse nusum jiran hinji chadu yobare tenda inzang chin tse nu zodun chimba zadita chutam jeke korwa tang tene nyangde ke chuke nelok chapchang chimbarwa chin tene tsewa ta hi konu hyuba tere tene nuba zodita tai besenjing tamje ta kantar che donghar ke jamso le drone nuba ke tendra nuba tani ji tendra chad yore ten teta ta kantar yang arang chutara julu yob semji ngo te chad yore tene tendra ngo te namshila ta ngarang chuche danji tendra yode bakabri danji te de trandu tene dameba ke ngo jenari dami be nelok te chad yore Te da me bine lote, teni jamba de zebaran yin beserna, teni janchuk sem karan zuk sangji yin sung ya ke jumtsin te cha de yupares.
So, as Lord Jigten Sungpan says in the Gongchik, all of the Buddhas, or the Buddhas, are the self-emanation of bodhicitta, or they are the embodiment of bodhicitta. And so, without it needing to focus on many different qualities of cultivation, first and foremost, to focus on the cultivation of bodhicitta. If our mind becomes suffused with the quality of bodhicitta, that itself is the nature of all the Buddhas. And so eventually, by practicing in that way, then we too will reach the state of Buddhahood by becoming the self-nature of great love. And so this kind of love is not like an ordinary love, the love that is mixed with self-grasping, but it is a love that is completely selfless and free of clinging or attachment, and is united with wisdom, with great wisdom. And so in that way, the love that is the self-nature of all the Buddhas is the love that is also the nature of wisdom. And so these are the qualities. It is through wisdom and love that then one arrives at the state of awakening, in which there is the power and ability to actually benefit beings, to bring them to temporary states of happiness, and also to lead them to the ultimate state of unchanging happiness and freedom, total freedom from suffering. And so all of the Buddhas in this way are endowed with the qualities, or they possess the three qualities of omniscient wisdom, love, and power, power. And so when these three are complete, then there is the result is complete. One has completely transcended the suffering of samsara. Actually, it is beyond the extremes of existence and peace, or samsara and nirvana. And so the omniscient wisdom is understanding all the entirety. Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I mistranslated that last part. So actually, it was what he was saying was that the omniscient wisdom is the understanding or knowledge which understands all samsara and nirvana in its entirety, the nature of samsara and nirvana. And then the love is what we have already been talking about. And then the power is the power and ability to liberate limitless sentient beings from suffering.
Tate tawe janchok semdi zanrawote zopar chipala, zarzo sinata janchok semde yamin par chipalas. Then Tomar Ngaranzo Da Yin Yamba Gongo Yuri Da Yin Yamba Shiva Dechi Sosorani ke Ludang Choala Pe Lang De Then Yin La Yang the Lud Detang Choa Yapo Metsi Chibo Yona Gapo Chibo Yuri Kains and Sosola Te Yopasen Tendayan Pesernas Te Jumsin de Sende Then Tambo Dajin Yamba si Titola Lo Jang. Then Dajin Yamba the Lo Kansan Ya Yarje Chin Sardu. Then that Dajin Jewa si. Teni dajin jewa tenani kare yonku yurusina lakpar to rang le yin chi par zemba. Soso rani le yin chi par zemba ke tendra ko lotop ning top tendra yonku yorwa. Teni teta bachel gomne. Teni rang le yin chi par chaba tendra ke nyam nyong te ya tsando zo ya ndewe ya potun ndu. Teni ta dajin irmi de tawa. Ta dajin irmi de tawa te kare sina teni tambo da shiba te ranjin chi madrpa toni namkha tabe yimbecherna teni yin shiba te da le tuni ya ya pa cha ma to ke khorang nguni yin se na chukthop de trpa ranjin chi trpa che mi pa kang tar ya da yin ni yer mi pa chuni namkha tabe yimbecherna teni te ta nga ne lo de jango yo baris
Gomtati yang char tesa songnang te Debetonia kichidu dak dangshin dine yermeba.
Ore ta hi dagin jewa te ke ya tsar te zo chadus tsar zo revet the min sindu teni dagin yermi sibate gongo yoris dagin yermi te teni da hibate soso ke da chapa ro ta ne ta yaba chamri ma to ke da hibate tun ngom to ne da hibate yomaris Tengaran so tapche dan ha ko da hibate yomare da chapa ta yabari ta da hibate me ba ina teni yin hibate yang teni da ti dimpatra ta tanda chi yo maris maybe jumsin kanrisina da latine pa yin ze ta ya ba dan yin le tune da chi ta ya pinsin chik le chik tin ba yin ba la cham ma to tung to la ni ka ma dra pa te ta ba ha ko yong go re se po cha so
So then, in order to develop this bodhicitta in the mind stream, in order to cause it to ripen, then we should practice first the contemplation or the practice of equalizing self and others. And so we do this by reflecting upon, what, like using our own experience as an example. So what they reflecting upon, what our own experience of happiness and joy arises from, how based on our own feelings, how we want to feel comfortable and happy, both physically and mentally. And so using our own experience of what it means to be comfortable and the sense of well-being in our body, as well as a sense of well-being and happiness in our mind, and be familiarizing ourselves with that feeling and thinking, just as I wish for these types of well-being and happiness or contentment, others wish for that too. So may others and may others have the same feeling of happiness and contentment that I wish for as well. So one sort of works on equalizing self and others. And then once that has developed, then one moves on to exchanging self and others. And so that comes from developing a regard for the welfare and benefit of others, to such an extent that one considers it even more important than one's own well-being and comfort and happiness. And that takes a great deal of courage. This really is an attitude that comes about through great courage. courage, sort of it's a very brave state of mind. And once that is developed, once the fruition of that is achieved, then one practices viewing or establishing the indivisibility of self and others. So one develops the ability to understand that oneself and others are actually completely indivisible, of an indivisible nature. And so this comes from understanding the truth of emptiness, or the truth of selflessness, the two types of selflessness. And so in investigating or examining, the concept of self, when we look at, or examine the nature of this, the concept of self, when one examines or analyzes, then one can see that really there isn't any real selfhood to attribute a self to, that this self doesn't really exist. So if the self doesn't really exist, if we don't really exist as the self that we attribute our existence to, then likewise others don't really exist. And so if both self and others are non-existent, or the nature of emptiness, then self and others are actually indivisible. The dualistic fixation that regards others as truly existent is dependent upon, first, the grasping at the true existence of the self as the individual who grasps at a sense of entityness. And then based on that concept of a self, then we have the concept of others. And so they rely, the self and others rely upon one another in sort of for the fixation to arise. And really, in reality, there is no meaning there. In reality, both are selfless in nature. They are the nature of emptiness. And so then this is the developing the view of the indivisibility of self and others.
Ta jirtang ke loma mambo ke jancho ke sem ko tola nyamli nandang to so yabo ha ko yore kain sina jajin ka chinro che la so ba ke lama give shini tamchin de ne ta jancho ke sem ko tola tene danga mambo tu yobare tene yang ga he ta sarpa lamna ta chi jancho ke sem la ya te kanda yin ha ma go ba tang chi ta jancho ke sem ke chi so so la pink yo ba ha mo go ke ta yin na tene yang te samza te tapje la wo chi tang nan de ke yo so so la pe na chorang ke karma nga la jancho ke sem gom tene te karma nga te jini chorang la chowa kanda chi sona te ma hyog to ma ti chowa te ti tene te jini cho karma nga chamla chorang maga sa man ro chorang control sa man ro tang chorang la nu jing king ma te set sam no tang tene hedang ro chi sem na ko chi ran ying ge yong ge wa te kaps te tol sam no tang karma nga cham de te jini cho ke yang te ma yige ro chi ti ni hyog kala tene te karma cho jini karma cho ta chuni sa chuksom sa tanda jini te chorang ke te yige de yang jar chek lo da tene chorang la chowa janchok sem gom bukap chowa de dewan do kam hedang la suba chen da bukap chowa de dewan do tene chorang ha ko gwa ta tanda do na cham sa thamlam ti na yabo min ro sams.
So many of you have already trained in developing bodhicitta quite a bit, and you know well the benefits of generating bodhicitta because Many of you listen to and rely on our great spiritual teacher, Lama Garchen Rinpoche. So he always is speaking about bodhicitta and the benefits of bodhicitta. And so many of you have already listened to many pith instructions on generating bodhicitta. But for some of you, if you might be new to this and you feel that maybe you're not so familiar with the concept of generating bodhicitta, or you might not know very much about the benefits of generating bodhicitta, then it is advisable to do some exploration and some examination in order to gain a sense of just how powerful and beneficial the generation of bodhicitta is. So one way that you could do this is that you could meditate for 5 minutes on bodhicitta. And then after having meditated for 5 minutes, examine your state of mind, examine the sensations in your body and mind, and write them down. Take note of what the feeling or experience of having meditated upon or cultivated bodhicitta for 5 minutes, what this experience is like. And then after that, then give yourself 5 minutes to direct your mind towards something that causes you a great deal of agitation, like you're thinking about somebody who you don't like, someone you don't get along with, who really incites real like anger in your mind. And then just allowing that anger to arise for another 5 minutes. Then following that, again, examine your sensations of body and mind, examine how this makes you feel, and write it down on a piece of paper. And then in maybe about 12 minutes or so, look at the 2 pieces of paper that you have written and compare the different experiences, the different sensations and feelings that accompany each. And then ask yourself, so does, when meditating on bodhicitta, is the experience one of bliss and contentment? And when meditating on anger, is the experience one of suffering? And so in that way, you can actually, for yourself, really give rise to an experiential kind of certainty with regard to the benefits of bodhicitta.
Tanyang che tanda tarang hedang la ya de pe zam timbai yang ga khela tanda che so control sa tanda me ba tanda rewa tini yang te chado la so ba che ke yor ba tanda san ta ne tini so chado de jen de ba kap so chowa de dewan do gam yang na jamba 장조 그 셈지 갑서 대완도 드라 답지 젠 되니고 되니 나랑서 가래 대바치 나테 나랑서 랑이 담더랑 에처런테 담조고 말아와테 사마 가래 힘보는 가서 대 담으라 되나이
So Kimbola says, to meditate on somebody who incites anger or to become angry is just an example. If there isn't anyone who particularly like incites anger in you, maybe there's another emotion like jealousy. So somebody, or jealousy or any other afflictive emotion. So in that case, for instance, with somebody, bringing to mind somebody who usually incites a feeling of jealousy, examine, is that a happy mind state? Does that actually bring about sensations of well-being and happiness? Or does meditating on love and bodhicitta create a sense of well-being and happiness? So in this way, you can examine and you can decide for yourself. You can choose. Khenpo won't choose for you. You can examine and see and really decide for yourself.
Kala Khenpo Yuna Ten Choran Dam again, the Khenpa the Dam Lagumaras.
So, for instance, it's up to you to choose the food that you think is most delicious. Somebody else doesn't have to choose that for you.
Alright, that the powers of Chuchu Yorwa Tinanketa, Inwa Cheking, Sewa Mawa, Netan Gumpa Pang song. Then they comes.
Wait, sorry. I think actually he may have been saying not that somebody else doesn't have to choose it for you, or maybe he did. I don't. But it also could have been you can choose what is most delicious. You don't have to choose a different food. Didn't that be?
Ale, ne te lai. That sama Khenpo the Khenpo Mayin, but you na. Then Chorang the test in the ta, Tini or Gariki Huntara, Tini Hiwa, the Chorang Dam Rogura, Tina Yi Tsoa Deva the Dam Roguri, not Sandra came and all Hachi. Chorang Tsoa the Deva, Tsoa the Jitaro cheese, Tsoa Chadog Tsoa de Dang, Jambak Tsoa.
So in any case, yeah, if, for instance, there's a food, like there's an array of food, and there may be some foods that are more delicious than others, and others that are less delicious. So you can see and choose for yourself, what is the delicious food, what is the food that you think is less delicious. You choose the delicious food. I guess somebody else doesn't have to choose it for you. And so in the same way, you can examine the feelings of say jealousy and the feelings that arise from meditating on love, and choose for yourself which is the more beneficial and productive.
Oh yeah.
That's all.
Teni da drink the power service chuchunang Inwa Cheking, Sewa Mangwe, Nedan Gumba Pang Songre. Della Sanje Ndo and Song Yoreda. Jirtan around so Rang Dondo Jirtan Sanje and Don Tesonre. Don Yon la Java Nyonga Gore Sonre. Around the Chutra Cups, Don Yon la Java Nyonga. Tin Nandon Carre Hubaina Randon de Teni Java Nyongo Grace. In a Yindun de Java Mango Grace on it. The night in the Kazan Hyang Shinti Devake Sumba de Huimba. Jancho Sambatam Jeke Rukene Samala Labgari Nyamyong Sama Sagri Jumsin Gans in the Yindun Jigo Yoroa. Then it simply yin la gang pink, lega lego zam, then it titola John Dar, Danlop Jong, the Karching Boyanza, Tet Nangri Huimba, Tit Nayin, Chitang, Tony Yindu in a Tunda Mambo Gogo Yuri, Java Mambole at some Jamachapare. Randon, then it Java Nyon Tango, Sungerite.
So gare Sumbarewa.
Sumbadere.
Sumbad.
Suma.
Reve, carere, tata.
Sumbadere.
Sumbare, okay. So the third line in the 10 things to be given up is one should abandon those places and monasteries which nourish more laziness and violence. But actually, the way I would translate this is one should abandon those places and monasteries which increase distraction and harm harm doing or causes of harm. And so in general, it is said that in the Buddha Sutra that one should one's activities and actions that are focused on one's own purpose or to achieve or one's own like self-motivated or those activities which are motivated by self-interest should be diminished. So there should be a diminishing of activities that are based on self-interest. However, there should be an increase in activities that are based on the benefit of others, or that are based, motivated by the wish to benefit others. So just like yesterday, Khenpo, or the other day, Khenpo quoted Shantideva, who said that it is important to study the 5 worldly sciences, and that it is important to study them and to develop proficient knowledge in them, to really become skilled in the 5 types of sciences, in order to accomplish the benefit of others, for others' benefit. And so in general, when it comes to accomplishing the benefit of others, actually the activities increase. So there should be many more activities that are engaged in for the sake of benefiting others. But when it is for the sake of self-interest, then those activities should be diminished. But when for the sake of others, there's never any end to the amount of learning, training, and knowledge that can end up being of use and benefit to others when the motivation is a correct one.
Chertang da dinan sumba na yin ne wimba inwa nyungsa ta de so tsama chu drya gen tunjin chang de sa cha cha de yore de ni sa zambo do zambo se du ngarang so je sa cha ge don yang de ni da sa cha ne wimba yi dong wa de ni leng ja bo ze dai sa cha be hwa dang tanda yuba de ni te karchimbo cha de yore ngarang so la part de tingin zila so ba tan yu gomba kap so re ta kang tar yang sem the number yeng so ina de ni jongjo nan shan de dewa sumba na yere sem de yeng so ina de ni ngarang so nyu mo ba ke chewa ta tham jelen chewa yo chewa tanda kan chewa gang la ne de ba chik pa re si nyu mo ba ke so ja chok cho cha de yo ba yin chang de ni sem de ni number ma yeng ba ina de ni sem number ma yeng ba de ne win ba gong pa ya khu chang ge yo re de yin chang shen ko yo ne ya gar chim bo re de sem na lo ke number ma yeng ba de gar chim bo re.
So here, as it says, those like places and monasteries. So when we speak of places and monasteries, the ideal places and what is referred to as a monastery are those sort of places of seclusion or solitary or isolated places where conditions are abundant for authentic Dharma practice. So as was said before, it is necessary to dwell in a wholesome place or a good place with wholesome or good companions who encourage the pure practice of Dharma. And so when finding a solitary or isolated place good for practice and retreat and so forth, it should be a pleasant place, a quiet and pleasant place with a few conditions that could cause distraction, with few distractions. And so this is very important, especially when cultivating meditative absorption, when developing meditative concentration or samadhi. And so on the other hand, if there are a lot of distractions, the more distracted that the mind is, then the more the afflictive emotions can take hold, and therefore the more harm that ends up being generated, or the more potential there is for harm to self and others. And so, as it says in the Bodhicharya Avatara, if one has or dwells in amidst great distractions, or as long as there is distraction in the mind, it is like sitting in between the fangs of the afflictive emotions. So the afflictive emotions are just ready to bite, at any moment, because by becoming lost in distractions, then they get their chance. The afflictions, the defilements get their chance to take over. And so for that reason, it's so important to surround ourselves with conditions or a situation that is really conducive to deepening Dharma practice. To find the environment is really important. And so it's important to seek out an environment where there are really relatively very few distractions.
Da yipatere control yoji driven soa pang song. Tangaran suchirtang jiktin dena ne yore tenza ngaran so jipsim malare patabe vine lamsang de toyate kale kapo yore tenda yenza ngaran so lon soa go yore. Yine ya da choa tam che yin lo ne go yong ba dang teni cho yong ba dang teni yo ji ge wang ge che top tap sen teni to yong ba dan ra ge choa de ina teni lon cho sen teni choa yang da ma yin ba cha yong ge yori teni de ngarang so ge dan ra ge choa de pang go yori song re.
So then the fourth verse says, give up that wealth which is amassed through pretension, theft, robbery, and cheating. But actually, the word here in Tibetan that is translated as wealth, I would translate as livelihood. So it actually says, give up a livelihood which is built on robbery, theft, and deception or cheating. And so with regard to livelihood, of course, we live in the world, and to actually completely abandon all worldly endeavors in their entirety, like Milarepa, would be difficult. And so for that reason, we, generally speaking, we do still need to rely on some type of livelihood. But it is important that this livelihood is not one that encourages or necessitates robbery or theft or deception and cheating others. And so if that is the case, if one's livelihood necessitates those types of negativities, then it's not really appropriate or perfect, the right livelihood. In fact, it is wrong livelihood.
Ta ngapa tere de sendang nyamla no bele da jawa pangso ngarang zo tambichu dreba kapse yang zo chekyu teni sem ko thoni da nyamni nang go yorwa teni ta ngarang chu kang da kang dreba ina kantar sem de zo ju ja to go yore sem tarang ngarang zo lusem les rongwa so hondwa ten de ngarang zo chula jondar chiwa te yang sem de che pena samba zambo ta batang teni lunga ke yin la phinya ge che jawa la yong thoba te karchim bo yu chang ta tenda che mayin suwa ina teni yang rang la ya me phin la yin la ya me phin pena ngarang zo nu sem ta ba che le chan so ba ina yin la ngarang zo nu sem jen de tar thok so so rang pham ro no yin la nu sem ji wa den tar thok so so rang pham te pamnya de chu ko ton he yong ba ina de ni ko wa deng song ta me ba la ne go yore te che ri tenin jikting ton na yang tenin sam nong ngin pa jin la tenin mo ki yi chi dang tenin lo te chi ya ka le kha bo yo zang tenin ta ngarang zo de so tam ji ta sem da nyam la nu ya ke le ka chan ro yo zang bang go re so.
So then the fifth says, give up those actions and activities that, and it should say, harm your mind and experience. So when practicing the Dharma, it's important that the most important aspect of our practice is that we are applying the practice in such a way that it is causing an inner transformation in our mind, that we're actually improving the state of our mind and intentions. And so that we are increasing our goodwill and wholesome qualities, that our mind is really becoming more and more pure. And so then likewise, when the mind becomes more and more pure, then the body, the actions of body and speech follow. So the actions of body and speech, the conduct of body and speech should be conduct that benefits others to a greater and greater extent. And so this is what is most important. These are the best signs of progress and practice. If it is the case that our actions are not benefiting ourselves and they are not benefiting others, that our mind is not improving, that we have, a strong, we have a strong or frequent thoughts of ill will or harmful intent towards others, or if they are increasing, then this ends up really being the greatest loss to ourselves. This is only ends up really defeating our own purpose, and it will ultimately only increase misery in this life, and also will lead to inferior states and samsara and the three lower realms. And so also when one has, a propensity for negative intentions, when one has a negative mind, then it also is difficult, others find it difficult to trust us. Others find it difficult to, put their faith and trust in us. So it is important to abandon the actions and activities that are harmful to both self and others.
Tene da trukpa de kamlan no be se dang julan bang song re. Nan de katsang gongni hubare da ngarang zo pena gonda ge hila mambo rawa ji chu dana cheba ina lakpar de hila jigo chimbo rawa ji chuba ina. Tene ti jini da che gomla soba jadu kap so yang sem de sapo mi pa. Tene sem de pe 가르선 탭탭 차도 유로와 샘 탭보 차 용바다 되니 참자 니그 난데 용바 텔라소바 용거 요리 양 조람 세와데
삼삼 공타 삼삼 니 가래
삼삼 사마 지고 침보 망보 사날 된 람상 니 현로거와
니 쇼그래
니 현로와 단다 용거 요리스 되니 양 pernang arang so luchar to so che jute karchim bo chag do ina ya gondan sina luchar chi de ba ina ya ni ko go bokap so ko mata ya yongor ba ten za de chama da tablam menga senda ten ra ji ro jan chok sem ge thone de ni ta borom bo che ke ngarang so la menga to so labja to so nang ge yore ga hin arang so ke ha ko yo mari song zang zu ha go yore ga he nga zo ge ha ko de yore de yang chang zang pa le lo no zena pa tim ba ji no yore de zo ge yang tim zong wen yang jia lan de zo song de pin do chen ba yore wa de za dong da chung chung ri zhen ya ma ya na ya bo yore de zo
So then the sixth says, give up food and conduct which or activities which are harmful both mentally and physically. So actually, we got into this a little bit yesterday with regard to the proper intake of nourishment or food, and when explaining that, also it was mentioned that it is advisable to not eat a lot of food at night, or to not eat especially like heavy food and a lot of food, especially if one is meditating. So if, for instance, one eats a lot of heavy food in the evening, and then, or anytime one eats a lot of heavy food and then meditates, then one can feel that actually this is not so productive for the meditation. The mind becomes kind of heavy and there's lack of clarity. There can be like a sort of a greater sense of mental darkness. And one easily becomes sleepy. One feels sleepy and easily falls asleep. And so this is a sort of excess in food or excess intake of really rich and heavy foods. It's advisable to avoid that. And then also, for instance, if one exercises, in general, exercise is also very important and good for both the body and mind. But also, for instance, if you do a lot of exercise at night, then this might make it really difficult to fall asleep. And so it is good to sort of engage conduct in like as is appropriate to one's constitution and in a way that is sort of productive and helpful also to the practice. And so Gampopa gave us these instructions with bodhicitta, with a mind of bodhicitta. And some of us, for some who don't know or haven't heard them, then it is important to know or understand. And for those who have, do know, are familiar with such instructions and feel that they already understand them, still sometimes we forget or we become lazy. So it's important to, not to just disregard these as kind of, not very important or something.
Tanita Dumbate Dudu Sene Jingben Zincha Bang Song. Da Gangdar Yang Naranzo Sena Shibate Uni Zongde the Yar Control and Chuba Yang Putokoyo Mare Marngin Sona Jimba Yang Tang Tokoyo Mare Tenda Yin Zang Dane Sena Shibate Dene Naranzo Yedal Jia Ju Nyajik Chad Yobare Tenda Yin Zang Then Gypsy Malarepa Kijang Se Tone Chella Jimba Tong Songondo Kantaya Sosola Se Kamgang Matomina Yang Tenitanachi Yin La Jimba Tong Sayona Tenichika China Pajimba Tanya and Rawatang Garci Tena Tenda Jimba Lunkin Said Lunkin Simjin Drawatama Yin Ba Miba Yin a Yang, Teni Huaji. Said Mazungan la Chuba Jiji, said Suta de Huajina, the Jimba Chano Yore. Teni said Sosorang Tokoyore, Sosorang Chu Chogoyora, Tenda Yenzang, Teni did tell us about Gang around on Samsanta, Jimba Tonya, Coca View Backups, Yan Jimba Tonja de Kachimbore. 파르드 심바 조 능게 데니 짐베 파르드 심바다 담보 송 그요레 데니 수난 초삭사데 초사답 데포 데니 드베침보 데레 짐바 땅원 레벨테는 소소라양 데니 세글롬주 탐제 저 야본 영화 데 수데 짐바게 수남제 데니 짐바 마당 센나 징데바이나 데니 다 소소 야다그네스 제야 그죠 찬르고요레 데니 소소 그휴 단지침보 베냐르데바이나 데니 마 찍라네 ngaranzo mata pa yinza 데니 디지어데 데니 소소 그 딱발 다 두고 요 말이와 데인자 데니 give 피와 메데와당 따라 찬르고 요레 데인자 다 데나 따라 센나 방고리 소냐 짐신 데로와
So then number 7 is give up fixation and attachment that binds you with desire, hope, and greed. When there is a strong presence of greediness in the mind, this prevents one from being able to both offer up to the exalted objects of refuge, such as the 3 jewels, and also prevents one from practicing generosity down to sentient beings who are in need. And both the inability then to practice generosity becomes the cause for being born as a hungry ghost. So it is really important to avoid harboring an attitude of miserliness or greed. Jetsun Milarepa explained that whenever one takes food, or whenever, however much food that it is one has, even if it's just a small amount, one should first share half of it with others before enjoying it for oneself. And if there are not other beings present, other humans or non-human beings present to partake of one's generosity, then one should mentally offer and dedicate whatever food, whatever source of nourishment, one can first dedicate that mentally, and then partake of the food oneself. And so then it becomes an act of generosity. Eating itself becomes an act of generosity. And so in this way, it's so important to practice the virtue of generosity. Of all the 6 perfections, generosity becomes first. It's the first transcendent perfection, or paramita. And it is easy to accomplish, easy to practice, and the fruit that arises from it is really great. It's really vast. Through the practice of generosity, there's tremendous merit that is generated. And so without generosity, if there's miserliness or greed, then the only fruit, this is also due in part to having strong self-grasping. So greed is a product of strong self-grasping, and the only fruit of that then can be to be reborn in negative states, such as the realm of hungry ghosts. Those are the karmic causes that are generated through an attitude of greed or miserliness. So it is so important to abandon this attitude of greed or miserliness. When it is abandoned, and when one practices an abundance of generosity, then the result of that, the temporary result, is that through such a generation of merit, then actually all worldly possessions, or food and clothing and wealth and possessions, increases for oneself. That's a karmic result of practicing generosity. And on the other hand, the fault of not practicing generosity is to create the causes for being, for the experiences of hungry ghosts.
Ni samre ngarang zo jio dana xincha chimbo yu na nga zo xian ro bokap so teni jio de la sem cha ne dana yong go do teni jio de la sem cha andu teni so so ge jio de khor go na khor to ko yo mare teni sem de jio de la cha de du teni ti jio de teni so so ke hyol de luba ke hyol de luba la da so so ke namen ra wo to so ke teni je chu gezan ro le jang na de so sun zimba zinja to so pa don ro ya la pink yore de mi pa cha ya la pink yore de de ni so so nam to so ke de ni dun da mi sem ma la pa te ya ba da thola tang ya ba da ri na de ni so so ju pa je ha jang ke de ni dong chap chin yore sung do de yin zang ju mo go ba ma ri de yang xin cha de chen bo ji ya yo ma ri si de ang ko tab lam ji yore wa ta na.
So Chigla in the Nangmila Gare Chik Pingere Song Gare Pingere the Koma song.
Nam ke teni soso hiat sar de ti jio to so ya che gewa do ya la ya tang ya ba na pin ro ko yo ro teni soso ti hinja de pa yan ro mi ro sa ro de ma to
So when there's a really strong attachment and fixation to one's wealth and possessions, then this also brings a lot of struggle or suffering at the time of death. Because if the mind is still, at the time of death, if the mind is still very attached to those things, one can't take them with one when one dies. And if at the time of death, one is still very attached to those possessions, if it is, that then one feels a sense of like anxiety and is very upset. Those things, one has to leave them behind and then they fall into the hands of others. And so, for instance, if one's family members who, if at the time of death they inherit one's wealth, it is really beneficial if they use that wealth for virtue, if they use it to accomplish or to practice virtue. And then through that actually can cause the fixation or attachment in the mind of the deceased to diminish. But on the other hand, if there's great attachment and then the family members just kind of fritter the wealth and possessions away, or they don't make a good use of them, if they, just spend them on themselves and kind of meaningless ways, then this actually can create a great deal of suffering for the deceased. And so in general, it's important to avoid becoming overly attached to one's wealth or possessions.
Yin yang ngarang zo jie jo sa de tumong ge jo to so la yang ga he ke pe zap ji pe ti sung jo ya bo na do to so yang hin cha ge yo ma re to so laksam cha ge yo re laksam de yin zang ngarang zo de na sam no hita dong go ji da gar chim bo re so rang ga ha go yo re la ma la pa ta an de ta dang to ne yang che pra ha go yo re ga ye ge tumong ge jue de zo la pe sung jo ya bo ji de ra ji ge do de so tong de ji si rang ji de go ha yo re ngarang su de go ko yo re de gar chim bo re.
However, generally speaking, when it comes to, objects and possessions or common articles and goods, then it to be really, what is the word, to to treat them well, to be careful with objects and possessions and to protect them is actually not to be mistaken for attachment or greed. Or attachment and clinging. Actually, that kind of care of even physical objects is actually a really positive intention. It's actually an expression of goodwill. And so it's important to recognize the difference for oneself, and also to recognize the difference in others. So it's actually really good to take care of possessions and material things and to protect them. Or to look after them and sort of to also treat them well, in a sense, to be careful with them. And so if we witness that, or if we see somebody who takes good care of their environment and the materials in their environment, then this is actually something that is worthy of rejoicing in, or that deserves sort of rejoicing.
Perna da chucho ke da chucho tawalan sona chucho teke jala dzo dabo yabo jane sungchep jindo te tamje na dabo yangbo jangkin te korang ke sunam sa ro ko yorila teni ngarang choka tele jisi yarang chena sunam nyam de thop go yori te so te senna la so ba chag yo mare.
So, for instance, like in the Dharma Center, all of the items or the things in the Dharma Center, when people who look after them and like protect them and sort of treat the objects well or take care of them, then this is a way to generate merit. And so, seeing that kind of regard, for the physical environment is not greed, or it's not something that should be interpreted as greed or attachment to things, but rather as an accumulation of merit. And so it's actually a very important and wonderful accumulation of merit that is worthy of rejoicing.
다 돈신 제바데 파르 메데베 저 바미 부줄람 방송 단데 가르침 버차데 요레 바요 단 바미 히바데 강타양 팅히티 마팅 게 제발 용도와 알아서 책임 바치 현도도 디지닉팅 가서 공다 라고 요레 다 공다 라야테 페야 포레 데 이네야 공다 말아부문도 수수께끼 야보tin 요나 데네 공다 라고 아차게 요마레 강다양 이 마데바 단다게 수수가 바미게 줄람도 같이 톱도 방고 요레 데카침보레 이나야 다 참참 바미 보왕게 줄람드랑이 바 현도와테 코 마란소 마렉바 요니 종데 단다게 요노고 요레데 다 저서 방고 요래 가르침 버리시.
So then the eighth is a give up the careless and should be shameful conduct that compels others to lose their faith in you. And so I think what is translated here as careless is bio, which is sometimes also heedful or heedless. And so there's like heedful conduct and heedless conduct, or kind of careful conduct and careless conduct. And so, for instance, when we sometimes maybe say some hurtful things, and then maybe we recognize later and we apologize. So it's good to apologize or to say you're sorry. However, it is even better to have careful, to be cautious or to have heedfulness in the moment, and to be, due to mindfulness, to not utter the words in the first place. So to not have any need to say sorry at all. And so for that reason, it's very important to increase through the practice of mindful awareness, to increase our conduct, like heedful conduct, or to our careful and heedful conduct, and to abandon conduct which is careless or heedless. And so sometimes, of course, we fall, because we all forget to be mindful, and we have, we fall under the influence of unawareness or ignorance. And so sometimes we do behave in a way that is careless or that is not very heedful. But to abandon careless activity or a habit of being careless, to make a practice out of avoiding, the careless conduct, is very important.
Sometimes tene sosoke na tene gevhini re ten sosoke dropo yi chisa tendala keja trago yore so nga kata nontor zo doe nga ke ti kani yarje tango sari kawani yarje tango sari nga nontor kani yung kawani yung ndo zo keja tina yapo yore te koran soke
gewe shinin de topo la la ko greve
gevhini ta dropo tsola la mani yoro gevhini ta dropo tsola dropo la de dropo ta soso ki yi chi sa tandala tani keja tre nga kawa nontor shorndo kawani yarje tango sari zo keja trina konamba ge ta koranzo ke laksa namda ke sosola labguri telatene soso yarje pen rogure maranzo nontor samsam shorguri te yarje tanya roya yore yang
So actually, it is a good practice to sometimes ask one's spiritual teachers, spiritual advisors, and trusted friends, sometimes to ask, please tell me, if what mistakes I might be making, or in what way my conduct might be mistaken, and what it is that I need to improve on. And when you ask someone who you can really rely on, then who you really trust, then they can respond, and they can help you to improve when they they themselves can respond from a place of really goodwill and good intention to help, and this can sometimes be very beneficial.
Yang da gevhini ta trobo yi chi sa tandala tragori matoke yang makanyong manjol tina ten chorang chu misala chu ju yong gare da korang so chado wangke tanda chunga ina yang samsam soso ke legat sola parche yong garwa arang so hirap biju tongora samsam.
So, however, it's important to know that when confiding in somebody like this, or really, relying on someone, that it be really a trusted spiritual teacher, or a truly trusted friend, not just kind of anyone, or someone that you don't necessarily know, that you can trust them to tell you honestly, and then in that case, If we ask somebody who we can't really truly trust, then it's possible that they can attribute faults to us that actually aren't there out of their own jealousy. And then it can end up creating obstacles in our activities or in our work. So it's important to have some discriminating wisdom with regard to this practice.
Ta tongching gabate tumi rondo gele tang jawa pang so. Ta de
So then
chik song ka.
yeah sung chirang sung.
Oh yeah. Dan de ngarang so te ya man robo kapso Tumi rodok jawa pang son de ta kantar ngaran su tonda chig chi to rondo go yopare ma to maso chig tonda minen ro go yomare ka he rando re ka he yindo re yin yang janchok sem yobu toni rodok jeba ina tani mini tumi ke rodok chak yomare ton yoba kan rodok chak yore When churang langwa jin ro de ba so me to nying je bo jin tong na yang san je len chu ban bo nga ke me to de tong song sim ba ji bo jong song di nang yi ke sim ji mang bo je ke di me to de tong hyo sam gu long zang bo je tene yang zhang bo ra wo dang je dan da de jiu ra wo tong de tene nying je dan da tam je wang ha ma dang je wang ha ma ke le yin ju ri Koran so tanda kangan do tene kangan de le nyor de tron show sam je molang re ja ho ta tanda ro thamna tene ro do chama dong yu ba chang ro yo re
So the ninth is give up the meaningless actions and activities, or give up activities of walking and sitting which are meaningless. Or give up meaningless actions and activities while walking and sitting could be another way maybe to read it. So in general, when we, walk or sit, usually when we go places, for instance, usually there's some objective or there's some purpose. Sometimes it is for one's own purpose, to achieve one's own purpose. Sometimes it is for the purpose or benefit of others. However, whatever we do, whatever activities of walking or sitting that we do, if there is bodhicitta present, then there is nothing that is meaningless. Then it cannot become a meaningless activity. It is always meaningful. So for instance, even when out taking a walk on the road, and if you see a beautiful flower on the side of the road, and then you offer that flower mentally to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, or if you see a beautiful flower and you think, oh, on my walk today, or in walking, I saw a beautiful flower and it made me feel happy. May all sentient beings have that happiness of enjoying what is beautiful or enjoying beauty, and so then it becomes really meaningful. Likewise, if one sees, for instance, a beggar or somebody who is in a difficult situation, then if one generates compassion, or as a result, one gives rise to compassion and makes the and says, thanks, how sad and unfortunate they are in this position because of her karma that has been accumulated in former lives, and this is the suffering of samsara, the ripening of karma, which in the form of suffering or unfavorable circumstances, may they purify all their negative karma. May all their negative karma be purified. May their obscurations be purified, and may they reach the states of temporary and ultimate happiness. And so in this way, then, anything that one encounters in one's path of, activity while walking or sitting or in any of the different postures, then can be brought onto the path of virtue and can be made meaningful or become beneficial.
Sometimes some tang de ranjong ke ngubo yorwa ranjong ke ngubo pen meto tang cermala sobanila pet lan hebaina koso nga so ngene chunda meto da cerma yo cermal kallar de cerma chong ka ko jirda
cerma
cerma
ha ko so yeah
koran so nga so ngene chunda je he ngdo sam ngom ta jina kanda he ng yoresina pen meto jing thong wa ta nga so ran yin ke sem la che to nang do den so de wan do ji te ng do par je ga jan du jan ning du ba do ta chi chma je nom ning du ba tang lak pa gan chan ning du ba tang tana yung do de gare ko meto koran lan zidok ran yin ke ko lan zidok ji yor ba ta nga ro zum ma la jamba de ni je yu su na meto de le dab ke mangwa ken zidok de yor ba deni yang chema la so ban thong de o la pen chang pu ma da chema so ngri da se la pen chang mu o tel ma jing ro na o tel man ro tel chema do da sim ro je de yong do ang ne ran ta de chema de ko la pen chang mu bu ba sim ro ta je ko ran yin ge ta ro de ta nga ran su sim ju le je 차도 첨보 단 해당 첨보도 지 요송아이나 되네 라인게 본 텔레폰 렌디치야 갑레도 대인자 도서 베단 동다도 파스 드바이나 란종 그거 본자 게 추는 마모지 제 해엔 갈란도 안가란 솔 응네잖아
So sometimes actually you can, if you think about it, material things or like the phenomenal things that exist in the world are kind of always teaching the Dharma to us. They're always displaying the Dharma. For example, whenever we see a beautiful flower, a flower just naturally elicits a feeling of joy and real delight. So if we see a beautiful flower, most everybody responds like that. They think, oh, what a beautiful flower, and it makes them feel happy, and they want to smell the fragrance of the flower. They want to touch the flower, be near the flower. And so the flower itself has this quality of, just real kind of attractiveness and beauty. And so in the same way, when somebody develops the qualities of genuine love and compassion, then they give off those attractive, delightful qualities, even much more than a flower. And they cause others to feel happy and delighted or joyful when others come near to them or are in their presence. In the same way, for instance, like a thorn or thorns, are like the opposite. When there is some bush or plant that is thorny, then we don't want to touch it. We immediately feel a sense of sort of feeling averse. And some people will say, oh, don't go down over there. It's really thorny. There are thorns. And so in the same way, when somebody's mind is filled with jealousy or anger, then they have the same type of repellent, the same sort of aura of repelling that repels others. And so this is really the way in which, the even inanimate objects in many ways are always expressing the Dharma, or they're sort of giving us Dharma teachings through their own kind of qualities.
Tenita Pamar Sabi Chuchipate Rindo Ranchu Ben Yinjun Dropa Pang Song. Chetang Aranzota then Sumba Yindo Ranyin Ranchun de Ben Royate dancing the din Ben Royo Pare Yinjun Draw Yung Bate Tenito Chihuke Chadon Rawatang Shedang La Subalatin Yinjun the Draw Yung Yobare. Then the Tang Aranzo Chunyams Ling Bakapsu then Chertang Chulaya Jitin Yarab Leka Chapsang Churi the Yuri. Perna Yin Janjang Kjun draw the Basoso Jun the bed and Kijina Jitin Tonyang de la Yabuket Marwa. Then Chutonia de Arang Rindwa. Then the Naranzo Kandra Ying Jun the draw the Lelabon Cha de Batang, Rang Jun de Tambo Sosok Jun the Sosok Tom Tabaka Yore. Tenis Niba Sosok Jun the Sosun Tom the Yang, Tenete Yinla He Matawa Ganga Yore. The Takantar Ranchun the Yin He Hibate Yin He de Batanga Pintoke Yonko Mariti, Jim Sing the Yin He goes Sunko Maritini. Yin Yang Rangachun de Tenis Shapachi do Tasani Kete the Shapake Leosaburati in Ladumba, Shake your ten do Dinner song Yoreta Susoke, Tene Sanje Gotang, Tanka Lasso Batam Duna, Tenis Sosok June the Be Madon, Tindani, Sosok Shapachi Goris, June to Soyatrin, Teta Vachiri. Then Ying June the Katsen Geta, Draw Magona, the Yabo Yore, Tambo Ying June the Then draw now Conficha, Netini June Jana Juno Chandro Yakinikachi Yoro.
So in then the 10th of these things to be abandoned is to give up the habit of hiding your own faults and exposing the faults of others. So generally, when one is very conceals one's own faults, or when one is invested in hiding one's own faults, this is the result of self-clinging. It's due to the mind of self-clinging that one wishes to hide their faults from others. And likewise, the wish or the tendency, or sort of the desire to speak of others' faults, or to focus on the faults of others, and to expose the faults of others, is mainly based on jealousy and anger. So it is really mostly out of jealousy that we want to focus on or talk about the faults of others. And so, of course, as a Dharma practitioner, it's very important to reverse both of those tendencies, to avoid speaking of, even focusing on the faults of others, and to avoid hiding or concealing one's own faults. This is even in a worldly sense, it is important to do this, let alone as a Dharma practitioner. So if we hide our faults, then this is really, there's no benefit in hiding one's faults. and again, even if in a worldly sense, or the world does not think of that as being a good or honorable thing, and then from the perspective of Dharma, it's really actually quite harmful to one's own Dharma practice. So to see, generally speaking, to see faults in others is very easy. It's easy to identify to see what we identify as faults in others, but it is really difficult to acknowledge faults in ourselves, to even notice our own faults at times. So first we have to make an effort to see them. We have to be willing to see our own faults, and then having seen our own faults, it's important to speak that to others, not just to speak them to others in general, but to confess them, to speak or to speak of or confess those faults in the presence of the three the Buddhas, or the three jewels. And actually, we will get into this more in the coming verses, or in the coming, in the next days, when we talk about the 7 branches. But in general, one can confess one's faults in the presence of before a statue of the Buddha, in front of a tanka, standing or sitting in front of a tanka, and before some representation of the Buddhas and the three jewels. Then one can engage in confession, acknowledging one's own faults. And in general, to really make it a habit to recognize one's own faults, and to really avoid focusing on or speaking of the faults of others at all times. To really abandon the habit of speaking of others' faults is very important. If we get into the habit of identifying and then speaking about the faults of others, that is a particular negative quality that very quickly kind of escalates into being like a constant habit, so that then we're always sort of speaking of or pointing out the faults in others. And so it's very important to avoid doing so altogether.
Lama jangbu nana yorwa rang chung de ro cham yona yang tene be no gris yin ge chung de la chung chung ten zhe dan sang te cham yona yang tene te yin la he tene de ganza de la mu ba ji den ra ji ge ri song na song de wa
Gongta rangi chun ro like the
rang chung ra cham chimbo ra cham
cham Retsam chimbo tene shingi chun shingi chun
ten de lab de da de ngage meto saw na yi chung chung je yo na yang
okay
de he tene ma me pa chi de na chi ge song tene song da.
So in calling the Lama from afar, it says, even though one overlooks, faults, one's own faults, though they be like as huge as a great mountain, or faults that are as big as a mountain, but then one speaks of or accuses others for the tiniest of like little seeds of faults that are like a little seed or a little sprout.
사자 lekhe 사자 인사 사자 빈다 다인사요 yin la taya ke ngarang tolo mai yorite so taya ke melong gogre son te nandong karesina yin kyun te ngarang so 통고 요래데 된 소소소소 그 히랍 비주다네 땅네 소소 중데 하고 artigo 그리스 순제린도
That's all. And so also Sakya Pandita has said, one has eyes with which to see others, but when it comes to seeing oneself, one needs a mirror. So what is meant by this is that, one can just naturally or very easily sort of see what we attribute as faults to others. But then when it comes to seeing one's own faults, then one has to possess wisdom. It's through wisdom that one becomes capable of really accurately or honestly seeing one's own faults.
다데 그 방월 사비 취취데 휴심바리 담마 방바서 취취데 휴게
So these are the 10 things to be abandoned, and then the 10 things not to be abandoned comes next.
다 집어 요리스 마방바서 와테
La?
다 집어 요리 전에 나랑 저 가래나 마방뭐 거와 이네 다 집어 요라
So this is kind of a pleasant section. We can be happy about what we're not supposed to, or like the things not to be abandoned.
아야 닌제 인동제 자바인베 마방스 단 닌제 시바데 다랑랑 저 yin ge dong je drog da sam ya ke sam no tham je ge za wan ro de ning ji cha do yo ba re de se na ning je ma bang song wa re
And so then the first of the things not to be abandoned is compassion. So as it says, compassion is the root cause of benefit to others, so it must not be abandoned. So with compassion, we are capable of accomplishing others' benefit. It is the root of all, the root cause of benefit, as it says. And so when compassion underlines, or compassion is a motivating factor for all one's activities, then all those activities end up creating the cause of benefit for self and others.
malare ba ge sum ba wa ta nang dang tani ning je de ba de sum bo ne tani jang chok ge sem nyam su lin ya yang na san je ju gong pang de ya ge da zhuo ya hu de ri song ne malare ba ge da song yo wa
So also Milarepa said, pure view, compassion, and faith, and bodhicitta, the practicing pure view, compassion, faith, and bodhicitta, are one's like the greatest companion or the greatest friend in one's practice that lead to Buddhahood.
다 드나 이 바타야 추수 쭉직니 거조라
So then we can take a break here until 11, and then we can come back and conclude at 11.
Sunandaya damje zebanye towanye be janan banze Jigai nanja balon roba ye ziban zolen roba roba jo pama senje damje dedan danger Nendro damje dodo dongwar jo chanjo zambai ganda zajo ba deda kunje molan roba jo Simje ne ba jenye ba nyurde ne le tarjer Robe ne na ma le ba ta den yo wa me ba jo chan jo sum jo ram bo je ma je ba na ji je ji ba nyam ba me ba ye kon do be wa jo. Thank you.